Buenas tardes y saludos. Welcome, everybody, and welcome to the PGP podcast, Puras Ganas podcast, episode number 19. You know what, Dr. Moreno? We've had superintendent roundtables, assistant principal roundtables, but you know who's in the trenches? Our awesome teachers, our timbers. They're right here. Hey, Josh Tobar, principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland ISD. Garland, USA, ready to rock and roll and learn from our team members in the trenches. I literally just flew in from Chicago, and you know we're ready because nothing will stop the progress of this memory bank. This is where all of us, you're not alone. Hey, educator, over there in Wisconsin, you're not alone. In Iowa, you're not alone. In Illinois, you're not alone. You choose to be alone, because a lot of you don't want to get dirty with the social media. You don't want to get dirty with different platforms. But let me tell you, all of this is free. All of this is free PD that you just could listen at the gym like I do. You could listen at different times on your commute to work or from work. It's about learning and getting the best gift, which is free knowledge. Hey, Dr. Moreno, how are you doing?
Oh my God, Josh, I'm wonderful. Thank you. I'm happy to be home. I'm back from Honduras. I know the last episode I had some issues, but you know what? I made the show because it's important for me to be here. And you know what? It was a great experience. I went to San Pedro Sula in Honduras, the most dangerous city in the world, and I survived it. So hey, I'm blessed. I'm glad I'm here, and I can't wait to hear from our teachers. You know what? They're the most valuable, most precious group of people and in our schools that really make the difference. And so I'm super happy to be here with you today and talk to our fabulous teachers.
Awesome, man. Big shout out to Shika Houston, who just had her symposium. I don't know. Everything aligns right sometimes in your life. I landed exactly in Columbia, South Carolina to help her out as she prepared her symposium. I brought my two boys, and we were carrying boxes back and forth. We made it in time to help her set up with Dr. Tammy Taylor, part of the Fantastic Four. Make sure that you check them out at 10 o'clock, 10:30, and 10:55 with Principal Cafele and Sean Hurd. Tim KV, you all need to fill it. Thank you, Tim, for being here. That cat's on fire because he's on Teachers on Fire. Check out his podcast on Saturday. He is from Canada. Hey, Tim, Canada, a fellow member up there. And Jorge Valenzuela, carnal, thank you for being there, showing the love. Listen to his podcast. That guy's on fire. He has nonstop solution tree authors knowledge. All of this. Hey, soon we'll be in Richmond. Yeah, soon we'll be in Richmond right there, having some of them best ribs out there. But before we get started, as I said last time, Dr. Moreno, we're going to have a moment where we just talk about real quick something off the top of my head. And I tied it into a game played in Mexico. I don't know if it's Honduras. There's a lot of Independence Days right now in Nicaragua, El Salvador. There's all over Independence Days right now in Central America. But there's a game called Chinchilagua. And in Chinchilagua, you line up and you say, Chinchilagua y arriba, boy. And it's real fun because you could stack up like 15 kids on top of each other. I don't know how their backs are unbroken and legs are unbroken, but it's fun. But then it also can be painful. So my thought today is about this. Here's my Chinchilagua moment. In education, we have an issue that has to do with caring for each other. What do I mean by that? We sometimes get that what Jerry Brooks talks about, PB&J, public jealousy. And it's sad because so many successful people are around us. And instead of lifting each other up as educators, when we know the job is hard, it's always been hard. When we were in school, we heard that the job was hard. We heard that there was no money in it. And ultimately, we a lot of times fight amongst ourselves. Now, there's some people that need to be called out. That's a fact. It doesn't matter where. Cops need to be called out amongst themselves. Lawyers need to be called out. Doctors that charge inappropriately everyone needs to be called out. That guy that fixed your car after a car crash, that dude needs to be called out. But us as educators, you know what? A lot of times there's a lot of jealousy. And I don't think that that's right. because we need to be able to go to that administrator that has an A campus. We need to go to that coach that has a winning tradition. We need to go to that band director that always makes it to the championship, and we need to be able to do that instead of he thinks they're all that. You know what? That's sad. That's sad in a profession where we tell our own students not to do that. We tell our students love and support each other. Why can't we do that? And I'm going to throw this one out. And I don't mean to hurt any feelings or anything. It's sad that teachers feel awkward commending or complimenting their administrators, because every time, it always happens to me, either as an assistant principal for 13 years and now as a principal for 8 whatever years. Hey, you know what? I'm not a kiss ass, but thank you for doing that. Oh my Lord. Really?
Yeah.
Really? Don't give me the compliment if that's the way you're going to get started.
Yeah.
Don't give it to me that way, because ultimately the whole thing is it's important that we learn from each other, and no one should feel awkward praising the next person. And so that's my chinchilagua moment. What do you think, Dr. Moreno?
You know, Josh, it takes all of us to kind of raise the kids that we're raising in our schools today. And the last thing we need is for us to be knocking each other down, right? We have to kind of help one another. And that's one of the reasons why we have this podcast, right? Is to make sure that we bring each other up and we support one another. And the last thing we need is for us to kind of, again, go back and say, you know, no, pues se cree la grande, or, you know, because that's the one thing I hear people all the time saying, you know, well, she's always doing too much. Well, you know what? Sometimes our kids need too much, and we need to kind of help each other. So you're absolutely right when you say that, as far as, and then when you said about that principal piece where, you know, you don't want to be the kiss, you know, the kiss ass or whatever, you know what? That happens so much, and it's not like that, right? It's all about making sure that we praise. We don't do a lot of that. We're always kind of talking down on people or reprimanding them. We need to help each other and raise each other and compliment one another. So you know what? I'm so glad you brought that up, Josh. And I'm glad that you're sharing the love with everybody, because that's what we need to do as a collective, as a group.
Right. And the whole thing is, I use that word because that's been told to me so many times. So I'm not trying to just be vulgar. Now, don't get me wrong. I do have a potty mouth. People that know me know I have a potty mouth. You know, I do. But here,
I veces se me sale a mí. So, you know,
I'm just saying, the whole thing is we need to learn from each other, and it shouldn't be in a field that we're supposed to expand our minds and tell our kids that we expand our mind, yet we chop block each other with those little negative thoughts. So that was my chinchilagua moment. And yes, George, someone's success will either motivate or breed envy. Just a humble opinion, and I agree with you. But that's where us as educators need to use our knowledge and our experiences to love upon each other, but most importantly, our kids. But that's enough of that. Let's get started with our awesome roundtable coming in from British Columbia, coming in from North Texas, coming in from really the Southwest Texas, and coming in from, oh my God, Carlos, North Carolina? Yes?
North Carolina.
All right, got it. I'm getting very old. And again, from the Southwest, welcome to our awesome teacher panel. Welcome. Thank you for being part of the PGP podcast, Puras Ganas podcast. And I'd like to introduce this awesome panel who agreed to be here tonight. And remember, everybody, like and share the show. Be part of the conversation. And if you're rewatching it on the rebroadcast, please submit your comments also, because we need to learn from each other. We're not alone. We're not silos. So, hey, panel, thank you for being here. I'd like for you to please introduce yourself. We'll start off with our guest from Canada right now. Please, Tim, tell the audience who you are, what positions you've been in education, and which one has been your most favorite. Who you are, what positions you've been, and which one's your most favorite. Go.
Well, my name's Tim Stephenson. I'm a science teacher in British Columbia near Vancouver, Canada. And I've been in the position of teacher. In fact, that's been my position for 32 years. It's been my favorite position. I've never once applied to be an administrator. I've never once sought a way out. I've always wanted to stay here because this is where I like to be. This is where my skills and talents are. And so I stay year after year. Here I am. And I teach astronomy. I saw somebody was asking about astronomy in the comments earlier. I think that was one of my students.
Awesome. And just remember, I embedded that question because some people do coach on the side. They have other side projects that they do on campus. So thank you very much, Tim. Talk to us here in North Texas, Omar Cortez.
Hey, Tovar, thanks for having me. Everybody, I am Omar Cortez. I am here in Dallas, Texas. I've taught second grade. I've taught technology applications, intro to programming, robotics, and intro to drones. My favorite has been robotics. I've been with robotics the most and the longest. That started off as my extracurricular coaching, and now it's just my full-time job. And that's what I love to do, is just teach and coach robotics.
How many years?
I have been teaching robotics now this is my 5th year teaching the class of robotics. I've been in education for 8.
Awesome. Thank you.
And recently soon to be published author. There we go. Right there. Don't leave that one out there, Omar. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
In North Carolina, them Tar Heels. Talk to us. Carlos?
Hi, everybody. I'm Carlos Erepol. I am a middle school teacher at 71st Classical Middle School here in North Carolina. This is my 4th year teaching in the U.S., but prior to coming here, I have 11 years of teaching experience in my home country, the Philippines. Favorite role is just being in the classroom. I love the energy I get from the kids.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Hey, let's go Highlanders. Talk to us. Celina.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Celina Rodriguez, and I'm going on my 22nd year of teaching, high school teaching. Most importantly, a special education teacher. I love what I do. I've been doing it for this many years at the same campus. And so in addition to being a special education teacher, I was a softball coach for 10 years for the Mighty Highlanders. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Awesome.
Celina, where you joining us from?
From El Paso, Texas.
Dr. Moreno, that's the farthest part of the Southwest you can in Texas. Come on now. That's where the true Mexican food is, Dr. Moreno, not in the valley.
RGB, what happened to the 956?
Pretenders. And last but not least, Silvia.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Tovar, for also having me here. My name is Silvia Hernandez. I am from El Paso, Texas. I've been in education. I've been at the same place for 18 years, but I started up as a substitute teacher. I even did a receptionist for a high school for about a year. Then I became a social worker clerk, worked with SPED department for about 9-10 years, and I've been teaching English CT. I'm also a special ed teacher, so yay for special ed. Yeah, and I've been doing that. This is my 7th year. I started my first teaching year with Mr. Tovar. Still very grateful for him. And I've coached JV and varsity cheer before, so and done book club before for my school. So I love it.
Thank you. Welcome, panel. Thank you for being here, Dr. Moreno.
I am so excited to have you guys here. And everywhere, Canada, Dallas, North Carolina, El Paso. I'm so excited to have you guys here. And I'm sure everybody out there is waiting to hear about all this awesome knowledge that you're going to drop today. So before we get any further or started any further, I wanted to kind of make sure that everybody knows exactly what motivated or who motivated you to become an educator. So we're going to start off with Carlos.
Well, for me, it was my mom. It was my mother's dream to have a teacher in the family. She didn't get to finish college, so she thought that one of us, her kids, should be in education. So it's something like me living that dream for her.
Awesome. Thank you. So Carlos, it was your mom. What about Omar?
I I think I just always wanted to give back the same way that I received. I know I had a teacher, shout outs to Mr. Toon over at Isleta, who was awesome and amazing. And what I received, I wanted to give back. So for sure, another teacher.
All right, all right. So we have a mom and another teacher. Celina, how about you? Who or what motivated you to become an educator?
Well, it just so happens that this wasn't my first choice. I wanted to do other things, but life happened. And so coming straight out of college, my husband and I got pregnant with my second son. And so I was like, holy moly, I need to figure something out. And so there was an opening at Beller High School, and it was in a special education position. And Dolores Rojas, who was the head softball coach at the time at Beller High School, she says, you know what, get certified, we'll bring you in. And she took me under her wing. I've had wonderful role models in the special education department. And so they told me, you know what, let's do it. I went into some classes and I fell in love with the kids. And since then, it's been something that I love to go to work to do every single day.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing, Celina. Your story's like mine, right? It wasn't my pathway, but
Right.
It called you in, right? Because of sports. And so
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you for sharing. And then it came out to a great career, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Silvia, how about you?
Well, I also didn't think I was going to be a teacher right off the bat. I have a business degree, and that's another thing that really interests me. But just when I started subbing, I remembered those teachers who truly inspired me. There's too many that really touched my heart, but there's one in particular, my fourth grade teacher, Mr. Wotton, may he rest in peace. He taught at Escontrias, and that man literally those four walls did not define his classroom and the learning experience that he gave us. He was a teacher that really explored science and history. We learned about fossils, and I was just a little kid who was exposed to a beautiful teacher that left a great mark in my heart. And so that's who has inspired me to be that way and take my kids to other levels, even when we're in the classroom.
And you know what? I'm so glad you mentioned that, Sylvia. And I think it was Omar who also said that we don't really realize how teachers really inspire us when we're in the classrooms, right? When we're there and we're talking to our kids as teachers, right? And we're talking to them and motivating them, we're actually planting these seeds that are going to be future teachers in the future. And we don't get to hear that. So I'm glad that you are saying that today, because I know there's a lot of teachers out there that sometimes feel defeated and they feel like, oh my God, I got to be at work. But you never know who they're going to inspire, who's sitting in front of them today, years later, right, are going to become a teacher because of them. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I'm sure all the teachers out there, hopefully your heart got a little bigger, right? Because there are folks out there that are super excited about you and about their teacher, and then they become teachers because of you.
All right. I'd like to welcome Justin McMillan, part of our principal roundtable a week ago. Thank you, Justin, for being here. And the number one fan, the top dot, McKeever Jeeber, part of the Fantastic Four Familia. Thank you for being here tonight. So part of the philosophy of this show, team, is that we open up the doors, because as some people are old and are leaving and some are getting there, you all know that there's a vacuum in our field. We can't find teachers. When I started as an administrator, there were pages and pages of applicants. Now it's hard to find them. They're coming from outsert background. So let's tell them your background. How were you, Omar, as a student in high school, Omar?
And you have to tell the truth.
Omar,
Oh, man.
Omar.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. Omar. I was in Mr. Tovar's office quite often, more than I should.
Let me finish, Omar. How were you in high school and in college? How were you a student? And most importantly, when you entered the field, how was your first year as an educator? Okay, so how were you as a student in high school and college? And how was your first year in the classroom?
Okay, so to put it frankly, for those of you that are listening or that don't know, Mr. Tovar was actually the assistant principal at my campus when I was in high school. And for context, one time I was just walking to class, just kind of roaming the halls, and I go, Omar, go get your attendance printed and get in here in my office right now. Sure enough, he looks up my attendance, and it looked like I wasn't going to graduate. Let's just put it this way. Over the winter break, I had to do like 90-something hours of community service, one for each absence that I had, because I wasn't going. And so I had to do, to make up those absences, I had to do community service. Fast forward, I become a teacher, and one day I'm calling my mom, and I'm just telling her I'm a little stressed. You know what? It's because these kids, some of them, they don't listen. She's like, I have zero empathy for you. Like, just think about all the times that I would get called about you, not listening, talking too much, and all the things. So, I did have that turnaround at one point in life. When it happened, I can't exactly tell you because I was still a little rough around the edges in college too. But it does come. I did come around, and yeah.
Thank you, Omar, for being honest. Appreciate that. Hey, welcome to El Profe, Sherrard Laws. Thank you for being here, carnal. Gracias por estar aquí. And listen to Sean Gaylord, the Principal Liners Note on Spotify. That guy connects all things that is education to music, especially a group that you might know, the Beatles. That guy loves the Beatles so much. Hey, listen, panel. That guy loves the Beatles so much that they hired him in college to teach about the Beatles. What? That man's on fire.
I want to take that class. I want to know how I can audit the class. So you need to send me some information on that, please.
Right? Silvia, how were you in high school? How were you in college? And how was your first year as an educator?
Okay. In high school, just like elementary and middle school, I was a good kid, but I talked too much. Okay, and that hasn't changed. I am still that person that can be in the line at Walmart and spark up a conversation with the person right next to me. So I was a little loud. I was the funny girl in class. I was class clown sometimes. Did my work, never had a discipline issue, but did drive the teachers a little wild with my talking and my jokester side. College, I was a little bit different just because I also was already a mom when in my second year of college and everything. So of course my attitude changed about everything, and I was I would like to think was a little more mature. Maybe I wasn't as mature as I thought I was back then, right? But I wasn't talking. I took it a little more seriously. And my first year as a teacher was good, but I'm not gonna lie, it was overwhelming because even though I thought I was ready, it's like a learning experience. Like you just have to learn about everything. And I've been very blessed. I haven't had any problems with the kids, so that helped out a lot. But yeah, you have to get used to all the different personalities. You know, you have 160 to 180 kids a day, and each of them has a different attitude, and each of them has a different background, and each of them has, you know, a different mood when they come in. So I think I've been blessed. It's been good, but it was a learning experience my first year for sure.
Tim, talk to us.
As a high school student, how was I?
Yeah.
I was always sort of looking for my place, I think. I think I was capable. I liked the math and the science courses. I wasn't the smartest, but I was. I did well. But I always wonder, where did I fit in the popularity rules of the school? I think I was just a little bit on the fringe, a little bit on the outside looking in, and always kind of wondering where my place would be. But I think I kind of found my place when I got to university, and I really enjoyed science in high school, so I decided to study that in university. And I think that I was studious, and yet at the same time, I've always had a hard time with rules. Just rules are fine. I have no problem obeying rules, but I want to make sure that the rules have purpose and reason, if there's a justice to them. And there were times that I got myself into a little bit of trouble, or maybe got some pushback because I saw a rule as being can I dare say pointless? What's the reason? Is this a rule for the sake of a rule? Well, maybe we should break it. And So I pushed back on the system a little bit, I would have to say, during my years at university, and I maybe got a bit of a reputation that way, but I think I stayed within the realm of collegiality and maybe some, I wasn't bad about it, but anyway, I got my degree, and I think in the end, people saw me as somebody who probably is capable of the science courses, but maybe make sure that he's not being pushed too hard by some maybe silly rule that doesn't necessarily have a place in or purpose in reality. Yeah.
Agreed. Thanks, Tim. Carlos, talk to us.
Elementary until high school, I would say I was a pretty good student. I love school. I love learning. So school was like a happy place for me. I joined a lot of extracurricular activities. I joined the science club, theater club. So I was a pretty good student, I would say. College is when I learned how to have fun a little bit. So I was still doing my work. I was still getting my grades up, but that's also when I learned to, go out with friends and sometimes skip school. But everything went well in the end. So yeah, my first year of teaching, it was very overwhelming for me. I had 3 preparations. I had to teach 3 different classes. I was teaching advanced math class. I was teaching an elective class for statistics. I was teaching a regular math class. So it was a lot of preparation on my part. Plus, it was also very overwhelming as far as managing discipline was concerned with the kids. But it was a very good learning experience for me. I was able to get a lot of support from my teachers who have been there, the teachers who have been there for quite some time, my administrators. So it was a great learning opportunity for me my first year.
Thank you for sharing. Celina, talk to us.
Well, as a student, I was an average student. High school, I loved the sports. I loved competition, played volleyball, played softball. But I didn't really see a whole lot of value in certain subjects. I was the type of kid that was in geometry, and I'm like, when am I ever going to use geometry in my life? Mm-hmm. And so, I skated by, got my diploma. But just like they said, everything happens for a reason. And so I was a young parent, and that really whipped me into shape, So, I had a little boy that relied on me, depended on me. And so college, I've been very, very fortunate. My path has been, touched by very important people and very positive adults in my life that understood or saw the prospect in me. And so my college coach, at Western New Mexico in Silver City, he says, I see a lot of potential in you. So I'm going to give you a scholarship. I'm going to put you in housing and you're going to get your degree. Got my degree, had a young son with me this entire time. And so, I finished, went into teaching. And, my first year teaching, special education is a very, very, very special. They don't prepare you. In other words, college doesn't prepare you for what you're going to encounter. The paperwork, when we were still doing triplicates, I had to learn all of that. Mr. Robert Beltran, took me under his wing. He was a positive role model, very, very excellent work ethic. He made me understand, this is accountability. This is the law. And so you have to be very, very deliberate in how you come across, especially when you go into meetings, these ARDs. And so it was an eye-opening experience for me, to say the least, my first year. So.
Thank you for sharing, everybody. And you know what? That's exactly what this show's about. Everybody here talks straight out from their heart. That's why I called on you guys, because you know what? I can always trust the best out of you. And you know what? Carlos never met you, but you know what? You brought the legit. You did not fake the funk, like Principal Capelas stated. Go, Dr. Moreno.
So let's kind of move forward a little bit, because it's important for our teachers to understand out there, right? Like, what kind of supports do you have? Because it's important to make sure that we're being supported, right? As far as our educators. And Celina, you just mentioned right now, being a special education teacher doesn't prepare you. So we need the experts out there who are familiar with the field. So,
Okay.
in your opinion, right, what is the best support a teacher can get from? I want to look at two people, right? I want to look at central office personnel, okay, and campus administrators. So, people inside the building and people outside of the building. Okay. So, and so think of what kind of support do you think you need from these two different roles? And we're going to start off with Sylvia.
Okay. I guess for outside of our school campus, of course, all the professional development does help. It does help. I know when I got some of the trainings, my first year of teaching and stuff, it did allow me to get familiar with certain terms that are used. Certain terminology that I'm like, what was that, or what's that acronym for? And everyone speaks about it like we all know what we're talking about, right? But the newcomers don't know what you're talking about, and I'm like, I need a little bit more clarification on that. So all those PD sessions and all those trainings for new teachers did help, especially with T-tests and all that, because that's another whole thing. Like, you're going to get evaluated, but you have to go into depth with everything that will be evaluated and how you're going to be looked at. As far as campus for administrators, I know that when you are a new teacher, they do tend to assign a mentor to you. But if we are going to be honest and realistic, everyone has a full plate on campus. And sometimes, even though you have a mentor, you see that mentor like once a week and it's really quick. And hey, do you need this? What do you need? How are you doing? So I think that as administrators, the support that we need most as teachers, newcomers, and even if you're teaching something new, or you don't have to be a first year teacher, just when something's going on, I feel like a real sit down. Like if your administrator pulls you in and says, hey, how are you doing? How's it going in the class? Who's helping you? Just a true one-to-one conversation, even though we might not be limited to classroom talk, it helps out a lot because it makes you happy. It makes you feel like someone cares if you're surviving or not, if you're backpedaling, if you're drowning, even that certain conversation, even in the hallway, men are walking by and they see you. Hey, by the way, how's it going? How are you handling it? Is everything okay? I think even that type of support goes a long way for even a teacher who's a new teacher, or a teacher who's experienced. I mean, just the thought of someone wanting to express concern about how you're doing and how your workload and how your day is going goes a long way.
Administrators out there, I want you to hear what she just said. It's all about connecting with teachers that are out there, especially when they're brand new. I mean, we're overwhelmed. Carlos, you said you had like 14 preps on your first year. I said, I don't even know how you did that, because as a first year teacher, it's hard, right? And then you have 14 preps. So thank you so much for sharing with that, because sometimes, principals need to be aware of also not just passing that on to your AP and having APs check, right? We have to make sure that we're checking in with all teachers. So thank you so much for sharing that knowledge and that advice. Tim.
If I were to refer to the district administrators, I think what I would suggest there is that they are willing to listen to the teachers for ideas. In fact, even solicit ideas. There's so much experience. I just think of in my hallway that I work in the science wing, right around me, there's 150 teaching years of experience between me and my colleagues. And when are we asked for suggestions or ideas? And this is something I think this would be very, very good for the district administrators to look to us as the experts. Sometimes we feel like they're the experts and we're just waiting to be told what's going to happen next. And within the building, I would say that new teachers want to be felt supported and greeted in the hallways. But I'm in over 30 years teaching. I also still enjoy having an administrator walk into my room and just sit down and say, hey, what's going on? What are you guys learning about today? I think that connection piece that was spoken about with Silvia is key. We as the teachers need to be developing the connections with the students. That's our role. The administrators need to be developing the connection with the teachers. And don't come into my room just for disciplinary reasons, but come into my room for social reasons, for connection reasons, to let me know that I'm part of the team, not just a worker in the trenches waiting to be told what's going to happen next.
You know what? That is so, so true. Because you know what? Teachers probably know more and probably get the information faster because you're working with the kids. You can see what the trends are happening, right? What's going on. So you're right. Folks that are outside of the school, right, don't see that as often because how often do they go into a classroom, right? And so when you're there every single day, you become part of the fabric there. And so that's so, so true. So thank you for sharing.
Hey,
Celina.
Dr. Moreno, real quick, I'd like to welcome David Arencibia,
Hey, David.
former principal, guest on episode number 3 of the PGP podcast, and going around the country talking about culturalizing the school. Thank you, David, for being here.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Celina.
I agree with Silvia and Tim. Especially like with the central office personnel, they're constantly learning, right? Evolving, getting new information in. But sometimes what tends to happen is they forget where they started. And so when they are making decisions, for the campus or for the teachers' departments, they have to remember, when they were teaching, how tough it was. Times aren't getting any easier. The students are changing, parents are changing, and they have to understand, it's not all cookie cutter, and especially with admin. With admin, just like they mentioned, they need to support the teachers, and they need to trust the teachers, trust those that have the experience, have the work ethic, and they will never, steer them wrong. So yeah, they made really good points. Both Tim and Silvia did.
What about a campus administrator? You talked about support outside. So what about a campus administrator? What would you say to your assistant principal? What support would you like?
Well, what they need to do is like I mentioned, they need to trust the veterans, I know they're making decisions, there's so much accountability nowadays, and, ask for guidance. I get it. Everyone has to make those tough decisions. It's, we always say it's above my pay grade, but they need to trust that the veterans have good intentions for the campus and for the students. And they have to look at the teachers that have those positive relationships for the kids, whether it's coaches or those classroom teachers. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Celina. Carlos.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. For the school administrators, presence matters. So it's important that you are seen by teachers, not just as people who will be evaluating them in the classroom, but as human beings who will be there to support them and to ask them how they're doing, to ask them how their day is, to ask them what's happening in the classroom. So just being there and being able to feel that you are there with them, and they share the same goals and the same aspirations for the kids as you. And for the central office, professional development activities, they help. They are very useful. But if we are providing students choice and voice in the classroom, it would also be good every now and then to be allowed to have that option as well, to give us that opportunity to share what we think would be beneficial to the teachers. Like a simple survey, what do you think would be useful? What works well in your classroom? And what could be shared to the teaching community as in general.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos. Last but not least, Omar.
Hello. So I agree with what everyone is saying. It's pretty amazing to hear everyone's thoughts and opinions and how similar we all are, even though we're teaching in different places.
Parts of the world.
Yeah. But I think the best professional developments that I have received have been maybe on another campus at a veteran teacher's classroom, where you're kind of in the moment and you can see what an exemplar would look like, right? So I teach robotics. It's very niche. And they're always asking for like certain things. But when you're in that classroom, in that environment, in that professional development, led by that veteran teacher, you can see like the anchor charts that are being made, or just get real work samples. More often than not, the people that have been in administrative positions have been there for a long time, which also means that they've been away from the classroom for a long time. And so them reaching out to the teachers that are still in the trenches and allowing the teachers in the trenches to help out the new teachers, it really has helped out. And as far as support from my own administration in my campuses, I think the best administrative, I guess, piece I've received from a principal has always been that she's always talked us up, always talked about what an amazing teacher we are. And then when she gives you that feedback, you want to tackle even more for her, right? So she's already telling me like, you're amazing, and wow, this is great, and the way you did this was great, and this was great. And so she gets you all like, she had me in a certain feeling like, wow, I'm good at this. And she goes, and if only you can just add, maybe this time you're doing this, or if you can just add this, you're going to rank even higher. And so each time she would come in, she would do that, talk me up, and then ask for one thing, and then talk me up, and then ask.
And you're going to do it.
Yes, because I wanted to keep getting that amazing feedback, and I wanted to get that perfect score or whatever it was. And versus just in the past, like, the other side of the coin, which would be like the negatives and just fix that. So yes, she would talk me up. And then if you could just fit this in, I would definitely always fit everything in.
That's awesome. You know what? I want everybody out there, out in the audience, to kind of listen. Don't be afraid of reaching out to other schools, because you talked about exemplars. And you, my friend, you are a singleton, right? You teach robotics. I'm sure you don't have like 5 robotic classes there in your school. So you need to go to another campus to see another robotics teacher, right? So administrators out there, please, please, please use this and listen to our teachers here. Having exemplars, not only just in your school, but visiting other or talking to your friends, other principals, and saying, hey, do you have an exemplar teacher that I can send my teacher to? Because that is volume. Teachers love to see other teachers, especially when they're somewhere else, because the culture is different. Things are different in other campuses, right? And so you get to learn, and from a different way, a different perspective, a different way of learning. So thank you for sharing that and reminding me that we can also have other administrators do that as well.
All right, guys. So right now, I want you to go into your memory banks, and I want to see you're all different levels. You're all different parts of the country, different nation over there in Canada, and I want you to go back into your memory and tell the audience how you remember your content area is different than everybody else. Your grade level is different than everybody else on this panel. How have you, Tim, seen education change from when you started to right now? What is your opinion? How have you seen it change? And most importantly, what advice can you give a novice educator coming into the field based upon this change? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I would start with that.
Go, Tim.
For that novice teacher, it's what I say to any teacher I ever mentor. Anytime I ever get a chance to talk to teachers, I say, however you were taught, do it differently. Because we live in an era where education is certainly in British Columbia, perhaps in Canada, there's more opportunity to freewheel. The curriculum has been pared down where I teach to big ideas. So rather than giving itemized points on prescribed learning outcomes, we're given these big ideas to teach within. And it allows a teacher to be creative and to look at the content and say, here's where I'm going to take us, because this is what's happening in the world right now. This is the way, in my case, science has changed in the last 12 months. And this is what I see, or this is where I see it going in the next 12 months, 36 months, and on into 5-10 years. And as a student moving into the future, here's what you need to know, because this is what educated people are talking about. This is what the politicians are talking about. This is what you're going to need to know when you go to vote next time. I'm going to educate you based on your future, not my past. And that's not the way it was when I first started teaching. We used textbooks. We asked the students to answer the review questions. Every kid answered the same questions. Every kid was asked to get the answers for the test and know the knowledge on the same day and answer the same questions. And then we evaluated them on this scale, and we said, if you get most of them right, you're smart. And if you don't get most of them right, you're not smart. And now we know kids are smart in 100 different ways. And so there's all these ways that we're teaching, and there's always these ways that we're evaluating, and the best teachers today are freewheeling, and they're looking for creative ways to get into the content and to evaluate the students based on where they're at and their skills. And it wasn't like that 30 years ago. It's better now. It's way better. And kids are getting a better education. And this is a time when teachers can have more fun teaching than they ever could.
Wow.
There you go.
Love it, brother. Love it. Hey, Tim,
There you go.
real quick. My old brain is telling me you have a podcast also, right?
I do.
What's the
Do I
name of your
sound like
podcast?
it?
No. I was. What was the name of your podcast? It's a science podcast, right?
Yeah, Science 360 is on Apple and Spotify. And I try to bring content that science teachers, but anybody who's teaching can just learn new things from experts so that they can go in their classroom and have something fun to talk about to their students.
And that's why I brought it up right now. Because if that's a novice teacher, they got to listen. Science teacher, listen to that cat right there.
Science 360. I'll help you out. Don't worry.
Got it. Thank you. Celina.
Thanks, Josh.
Well, going back to, your question about how, especially in my department with special education, it changed even from last year to this year. I'm not sure if I'm sure, Josh, you're familiar with this, but, I'm a resource inclusion teacher. And so, you go into your co-teaching and you're helping students, improve on their writing, on their reading comprehension, their fluency, all of that. And last year, they changed something on us, threw us a curveball. And our SALT 3 students, who are students in a self-contained classroom, they now changed that they were responsible for taking the STAR end of course exams. And for years and years and years, the accountability wasn't there for those poor babies. And so academically,
welcome to Texas.
You're exactly right. Welcome to Texas. And, it breaks my heart because, academically, it's tough for any type of student, right? But these students have intellectual disabilities. And so you're telling them that they need to learn how to write an extended constructed response, a short constructed response, find author's purpose. And so we were like, what? How are we going to get our babies to be able to do that? Yeah. And so you just have to get creative with the attempts and hope that these students show growth, because Texas wants to show growth, all this A-rated campus and all of that. And as teachers, this year I'm doing 4 different contents: English 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so I have yeah, that's a different podcast. But I have freshman students that are in my class that they're SALT 3 students coming into my class, and I have to do my very best to get them to show growth from last year's STAR end of course exams. So it's very difficult and it's challenging, but what can you do, right? It's not going to change anytime soon. So you have the tools and you have the responsibilities to motivate them and get them, where they need to be. So yeah.
Celina, next year they're going to have to meet masters next year. Okay.
Yeah,
so they're going to change the rules again. Okay.
For those of you that do Common Core, in the East Coast and different parts of the country, I know that some of these connections we're not in tune because Texas does its own thing. But just we made people that were not responsible in a blink of an eye for the rating of not only the campus but the district. And that doesn't happen overnight. So it throws a wrench. And I'd like to add a little bit something else real quick. Celina, I want you to please, I I know you've been out of the game in a while, no pun intended, but also what have you noticed in regards to coaching? Omar, I want you to add coaching robotics. Robotics, all right? What have you seen evolve with robotics? Because robotics parents are interesting. And then Sylvia, when you get to you, cheer, okay? So give the people out there an understanding of how you've seen those things evolve. Go ahead, Celina, coaching.
Well, coaching, I finally resigned in 2014 when I had my last son. But little by little, I was seeing some differences where, the great thing about athletics, whether it's volleyball, softball, the kids are competing, year round. They're doing travel ball. Their parents are paying their monthly dues to compete. But then that mentality goes into the high school. And so it becomes an entitlement issue where, parents are now questioning coaches' decisions as far as playing time, not taking into consideration, character, work ethic, being punctual. All of that goes out the door. And so now parents are like, why aren't you playing my little Sarah? And that has become very, very troublesome, I'll say, for coaches nowadays, because parents, when I played eons ago, my parents trusted what the coach's decisions were. And so if I would come home and I'd be like, oh my God, they sat me down, and my parents, their question was, well, what did you do wrong? Right? And so now it's, coach, what are you doing wrong as to why my Sarah isn't playing? And so that's what I've seen. I've seen a shift in that. I'm not saying it's in every single state, in every single sport, whether male or female, but parents they have very loud voices now. Very opinionated too, by the way. So.
And just and I like just to, before I jump over to Omar, it doesn't stop with the coaches, and Celina can attest to this. I've been in charge of athletics as an assistant principal at different schools. Omar can attest to that at his high school and at the previous campus I was at Socorro. And parents have a tendency of also attacking administrators.
Yes.
I bring some kind of bad juju to athletics because I've been around football teams that just they're not there sometimes. All right. And parents have surrounded me after games, letting me know what I was going to do as an assistant principal or as a principal of how to turn the sport around, not taking into consideration what that lady just said. So I bring this out not to scare anyone away. This is the reality of how things have evolved. 32 years, 20 years, and other years of experience here. Mm-hmm, we need to understand that this profession of ours, which is beautiful, it is beautiful. It is the best profession out there. We change lives. We nurture the country. But understand that it takes a team effort. It takes a team effort, which is the parent, the kid, and the adult, the professional. And not one has more power than the other one. If we're all in sync together, then we will evolve to a successful community within the campus, within the state, and within our country. But as long as we're divided, something as simple as selling cookie dough for a fundraiser, that creates true division and hatred. And that's a scenario. And I told Celina before the show started that people fight you over the most darndest thing. You want to be part of a travel team. You want to travel, but you don't want to sell the fundraiser. No, that's not fair. No se vale. That's not fair. Everyone needs to be equitable in regards to the fundraising aspect of it. And that's what's horrible about sports. I cannot speak for Wisconsin. I cannot speak for Illinois, North Carolina. But in Texas, we all know that fundraisers are a big pain in the you-know-where.
Yeah, it is.
Omar.
Going into with parenting and coaching, and again, I'm trying to remain positive for future educators out there. Like 90% of it is great. 90% of it is usually great, but there's always I've had in one instance the lack of accountability, or even and the undermining of the person. So I give all my time to these kids, right? Like for robotics, I am there after school every day until 6 o'clock. Kids ask me if they can come in early. Come on in, mijo. Kids asking me if they can come in during my lunch. That's fine with me. You go work on your robot and do you. So I'm putting them all. I'm giving them all my time, all my respect, and I am taking care of them. And in one instance, I had a group of kids that were engaging in inappropriate activities that ultimately resulted in expulsion of a couple of them. And the parents somehow got together and made their like own private group chat, and with like the mom mentality, wanted to show up to campus to try to, reverse my decision.
Decision.
And so luckily my administrators had my back, and oh gosh, man, but they all showed up. All the moms showed up one day. They all got together. They talked about what they were going to talk about, and they wanted to overturn my decision to expel. I don't even ever expel kids. That was like it's a singular instance that's occurred to. And yeah, I don't know what it is about not letting the kids take accountability for their actions. And in a second instance, or it was a singular kid, I'm calling mom and be like, "Hey, I have because in my robotics program, I have these kids are. I don't want to say it's prestigious, but it's a really good program, and I'm not trying to pat myself in the back, but like my kids often make it to championships, and I have to hold like tryouts and try to be equitable. And so I had a kid that everyone told me he's really smart, but can probably use this. Because he's having other troubles or difficulties. And I tried that. And I'm over here talking to mom and saying like, hey, it's not a good look when this kid is able to compete with me on Saturdays, but is not showing up to Saturday school, or the kid is not. And so the mom then starts saying, oh, well, he said that you just have something against him. I'm like, really? Again, like I am taking my time to talk to teachers to figure out how to get extensions on missing assignments and late work. I am trying to figure out ways that we can get forgiveness through apology letters and things like that from other teachers in order to assure that eligibility still remains. And yet somehow I have something against him. I give your kid all my hours after school that I could be at home with my wife, where I can be
family,
right with my be with my family. But I devote my time to you, my Saturdays. I take care of your kids all the time, and I have something against him. So I think that's one of the biggest things that is changing. I remember growing up, even my mom was always an ally with the teacher, and it seems like now with the parents, and now it seems like the parents are more allies with the kids, and so that's what's a little bit more difficult.
And you know what? And I will be remiss if I don't say this. And again, just like Omar said right now, it's an extremely high percentage. Nothing is 100%. Nothing. Judges aren't perfect. Doctors aren't perfect. Dentists aren't perfect. We're just presenting to both our communities, which is Canada, North Carolina, Texas, letting you all know we need to fine tune these things to ensure, because we're seeing it derail. And then you're getting it from the trenches. That's the crucial part of this conversation to everybody out there. I want to make sure that everybody understands that cat right there, this kid right here, I've seen it literally evolve from a kid to a grown-ass man, bringing championships to his campus. I'm presenting to you somebody that put the time for his kids. He buys them shirts and specialized for his VEX, robotics. We're just presenting out there that society has been changing.
Yeah.
And you're hearing it from us because and I just like to put this out there. The whole Canada, France, Germany, United States, we all learned what we had during the shutdown because parents were in charge of their kids during the educational process. And so we need to keep on remembering that unity that we had and understand that things have evolved back to more the old ways kind of mentality. Yeah. But with this poison right here, this right here has created new things. So as educators, we want to communicate with everybody, and especially when you got champion mentalities here. You all don't understand out there in the world, if you're not a special ed teacher, how difficult it is and time consuming with paperwork. Following federal law, following state law, and all the requirements, it's not easy. So when we present stuff out to people, those are just facts because you know what? These are the facts in the trenches. Sylvia, what have you learned since you started and you would tell a novice educator to watch out for? And then if you want to embed a little bit about the coaching with a cheer.
Okay, yes. And I haven't coached as well. I think the last when I did resign for my coaching position was back the start of the end of 2021 school year to start the 2022. I loved the coaching part, but I would have to agree with Celina and Omar. And I guess as a novice teacher, I would not discourage you from coaching at all. You get so much out of coaching, out of sharing those times with the kids when you're preparing to go out to a game and you have your what we call family time. You eat, you bring dinner to them. That camaraderie with the other coaches, like it has a lot of positive points. And I would encourage, actually, I would encourage a novice teacher to try coaching or try sponsoring a class or a school class if you're in high school or a club or anything. I do believe that extracurricular activities with kids bring out more things that you thought you couldn't do. Like as an educator or as a person, you're like, hey, because you're constantly thinking, what can I do for my kids? How can I improve this? How can I show them, to have pride in their school? I teach at the high school where I graduated from, and I'm still very prideful of my community, the type of kids that go there, my school, and I want to see them succeed because there's been people that have been very successful, and our communities, sometimes some of our kids don't feel they can reach certain goals in life, right? So coaching and sponsoring any type of club is important. But I also have seen the difference, and that's where I'm agreeing with Celina and Omar for sure. I know growing up for me, if my mom got a call, it didn't matter if we were right or wrong. If she got a call, it was wrong. Like I don't want to hear another call, and I'm not saying that we cannot give our kids, like, I know this new parenting more easy. You care about your kids' feelings, and that's great. But your kids also have to learn to respect
Yes.
certain positions and respect certain boundaries. And as far as my experience in coaching, I love that cheer has become a competitive sport. It's more than just chanting. It's athleticism. It's they're working hard. Those kids are pumping iron, getting fit. All that aspect is beautiful. But coaching has changed throughout the years, and I'm not saying that the coaching when I was a kid, because I was in band and I did a year of high school basketball. I played sports in middle school. And yes, I mean, it was way different times. Coaches could yell out just about anything, and, everyone just heard it, and you moved along, and kids didn't get their feelings hurt. I mean, it is what it is. Like, they would yell at you in the middle of the game, like, what are you doing? And you would just, okay, I need to get it together. But I have seen changes in that aspect where we can't say certain things or have a certain tone, even if you're being appropriate with your language. But even raising your voice a little too much is, why are you yelling at my kid like that? And I'm like, because your kid is messing around while I have a girl flying 20 feet up in the air, and the other girls are laughing, and she could fall and potentially break her neck. But I've seen that aspect, like Celina was saying, like parent, and I'm all for advocacy. As a parent, you should advocate for your kid, but you should also allow your kid to be accountable.
Yes.
I remember if I wore a uniform in high school or any other thing in middle school, I couldn't walk late to class because I'm representing not just my school, myself, but my team. And nowadays it is, I mean, we're being transparent on this podcast. That's one of the biggest issues we have. They don't even honor the uniform they're wearing. I remember if you wore your uniform, you thought you were cool. Like, like you wanted to be that kid that stands out from the crowd, And now it's like kids are getting there late. They're not doing their work because, again, like Omar says, they will reach out to the teacher the day before eligibility, like, can I turn something in? And back in my day, it was, you don't pass, you don't play. And it was at the due date. And I guess we can't, evolution is beautiful, and that's why we are where we are with everything, but we can't lose the importance of certain things, which is discipline and accountability. We can evolve all we want, but we must maintain discipline and accountability, because at the end of the day, I cannot walk into my job late because my boss is gonna be like, "Hey, Sil, what's up with you? Class starts at 8:55. Why are you here at 9:20?" And I can say, "Oh, it's because I have an off day." Because we're gonna have off days throughout our life all the time. So I think encouraging kids to acknowledge that there has to be discipline and accountability is gonna not just help the kids be a better person as they get older, but it helps you as a parent, because you don't have to worry about your child doing stuff they're not supposed to, because you're gonna know, my child knows that if they drive that way, or if they speed down the street, or if they get late to their job, they might lose their job, not be able to pay for their phone, or not be, whatever it is that it may be. We're educators, but we're not just educating our kids to be successful academically. We're educating our kids, which are their kids, to be, because we spend way more time with them sometimes throughout the day. So we're helping educate their kids to be good citizens of whatever city they decide to live in, whatever planet we have 2 astronauts in space right now, right? Like, you never know, you might get stuck in space if you become an astronaut, but you have to have a sense of discipline, I believe. Respect, discipline, and accountability is big. But I would never discourage a novice teacher from experiencing the beauty of what a coach can be, or a sponsor for, like I said, even the book club. You just form certain bonds with kids that are unforgettable.
Uh, Thank you, Silvia. That's awesome. Beautiful heart, like always. Hey, Carlos, talk to us. What have you seen evolved in your field, in your state, that you would give advice to a brand new novice teacher?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think now more than ever, teachers are called to be value formators. Um, Sometimes we're the only positive adults that they will be having in their lives. So the parenting most of the time is passed on to the teachers. So accountability, discipline, these are things that would be expected from us to teach to them. But I'd also like to tackle how information is accessible easily nowadays, like AI, Chat GPT. A lot of our kids are struggling with how to use this stuff. So I think the challenge now is how to teach them how to use these things properly, because they're here to stay. They're here to stay, and the least we can do is to prepare them how to ethically use all of these resources that are available to them.
I wanted, hey, Carlos, that's so true about that AI and all that. Because this caveman, I have no idea what the hell that is, and that's a fact. All right, I still use my yellow pad and my pen. All right, my protractor. But in the end, I'm just gonna let you all know, hey, everybody out there, whoever's watching this on the rebroadcast, and to everybody again, thank you for being honest, because that's how we get ahead. Being professional and honest with what we live with every single day. Because you know what? Sometimes they don't hear what we have to say. When we say that collective. And the thing is that it's not a collective of my silo and your silo. It's about we being together. Dr. Moreno.
So I think we all have stories to tell, right? And we probably have long stories to tell as far as our experiences in the classroom. So I'm going to make this a 2-part question, but I want you guys to keep it short, so that we can make sure that we can get through everybody pretty quickly. But let's tell the audience about a success story, because I know we all have them and we want to celebrate them and highlight. So I want to hear about a success story that you can share. And I want you to tell me about how you can handle a situation better. So a success story, and then something that you did that you feel, I could have done something a little better because now I understand the problem a little better. So we're going to start off with Celina.
Yeah, you did. And I need a couple of minutes to think about that one.
All right, Tim, let's go with
Come back to
you.
me, girl.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Don't worry, I'm not gonna forget you. Tim, do
Yeah.
you have something? Because I know you have some stories.
I mean, a success story in my teaching profession has to be my astronomy course. 20 years ago, I said to my principal that some of the hottest sciences in the 21st century are going to be either astronomy or genetics, and we should teach one of those courses. And I was given the opportunity to teach astronomy, and it's changed my career. It shaped my career. I become Astro Stevenson, and it's a course now that 100 kids a year take. And when I retire, I don't know what those kids are going to do. They're going to have to take chemistry or physics or something, I suppose. But what a great thing it's been to grow in my understanding of the universe and to be able to share that with my students, all because I had an idea. And I just wonder why more teachers haven't done that. Now, in Canada and certainly British Columbia, we have this opportunity to be able to propose courses. And I don't know if that's the same everywhere across the US, but wow, if you have an opportunity to propose a course, I always encourage people to teach the subjects, teach the area that you want. When we talk about discipline problems and we talk about kids not coming to class on time, and sometimes I look at those same situations in my school and in my province, in my country, and I think, but are we providing them an opportunity to learn things that makes them want to get to class on time? Kids have changed. I mean, talk about the evolution of schools. The people we're teaching have changed enormously. They're more they're more socially aware. They're more conscious of social issues, and they're more emotionally tenuous. And so to teach these days, why not bring them something that makes them want to get to class on time, makes them want to be there and put the work in. And then maybe what I have to do as a teacher is I have to is pull back on my expectations so that I give them that opportunity to express their new knowledge in their own unique way. And I find that in my experience, doing these things has allowed me to have success in the classroom. I'm not saying kids don't come to my class late, because they do, but I don't think it's a chronic issue. And I would just wonder, are schools and education and the platforms we're working on changing as fast as the people we're teaching? And I don't think so. I think we need to change faster to meet the needs of the kids today. And so I had this opportunity to teach astronomy because I dreamed the course up. I just thought of it, and I work in a jurisdiction that allows me to do that. So that would be the success. And now, after saying that, I can't even remember what your other question was.
The other one is, if you think about a situation where you had a problem and you would maybe handle it a little differently now.
Well, right off the bat, what comes to my mind is the time years ago, 2 decades ago, easily. I had a student who was being quite obstinate, and I made a comment, very sarcastic, very snarky comment right back. Kind of like, okay, you're going to give me that, I'll give it right back to you, buddy. And he got up and he slammed the door so hard, it almost broke the glass. And I do recall that still. And I think, you know what? These days, when those sort of obstinate kind of challenges come before me, I don't jump on the kid. I don't take him on in a battle of the wits. I'm much more willing to roll with the punches and to say, okay, I hear what you're saying. Maybe we'll deal with this later, or I'll just let it roll off my back like it didn't even occur. I think I'm just more willing to accept that these are kids and I'm the adult in the room, you
Exactly.
know, and I can handle it. And
don't take things personal.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Tim. Silvia.
Okay, I'll make this quick and short. I think looking back, one of the things that maybe now I'm like, oh, I should have handled that different, was going back to like my coaching years and stuff. You know, I was fairly new as well in the classroom. So I think maybe I should have not allowed it to bother me as much emotionally. So I could have continued with it longer, and just known that I know, like, just held on to the part where I knew that what I was doing was right, and instead I let the noise get to me, and just I said, you know what, I don't need this, I don't want this. This is added stress I don't need. But at the end, I was like, man, I could have given maybe that a couple more years of shot, and just rolled, like Tim says, just rolled with the punches, because, as it is, that is a sport that has a very fast turnaround with coaches. It's a very, it comes with a lot of drama.
Yes.
But and believe me, it takes a while for me to even get mad, or like, but I wasn't mad, I was hurt, and I think I should have given myself an opportunity to be like, you know what, it is what it is. That was this year, this season, on to the next. But I didn't stick with it. But I've had much success within the classroom. I'm very proud of that. I
What's
feel
a success
happy.
story?
I'm sorry?
A success story in the classroom.
In a success story in the classroom, I mean, I am very honored and humbled when I'm told, hey, you're a great CT, like, we don't even know where to put you because we want you here and we want you here, and we, and to me that's like it makes me feel good that they can entrust that I can help with accountability in English 1 and 2. And even though sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, accountability again this year, I want a break or whatever. But I do understand, like, their compliment and saying, yeah, but it's because we know you're going to do it. It's because we know you're going to get those, like Celina says, our sped kids. And we did have that jump up, from our unit kids to modified, from modified to a CT setting. And I'm with Celina, where it's not easy for those babies, but luckily we live in a world with a lot of technology. We have all those aids during their EOC state assessment, like content language support, where they even get to see a picture. And even if they just, like she says, even if the improvement is this much, like that, to me,
It's
that's a success story within itself. And thankfully, I've been very blessed that I've been able to be doing well with accountability. So to me, that's my success part in the classroom.
Awesome. Thank you, Omar. Talk to me, Omar.
Okay, I think my biggest success story was watching one of my kids specifically grow through his robotics program. When he came to me, he was a little bit shy and a nervous wreck. And actually, during the pandemic, things like were getting worse for kids because it was easier for them to hide, right? So if like they were already introverted during those times, like it was easy for them to stay muted, or for them to have the cameras facing
or
up,
hiding the camera, right? Yeah.
So when we came back to school that month in October, it was even worse. And now, just through like going through the robotics thing, learning to doing mock interviews, because at the competition they have to do interviews. During alliances, they have to be able to communicate with their alliance. They have to be able to communicate with the teams. And by the time that kid left for me, he had a lot of self-advocacy, and he was just an outstanding student that the teachers and principals started reaching out to me, telling me the change that this robotics thing has had for that kid specifically. And so just hearing about that was probably one of my best stories. I wrote a book about it.
Oh, you'll have to tell us about the book and the lightning round of the Echale Ganas. So hold on to that thought when we talk about that. And then a situation that you could have handled better?
Something that I quickly learned with coaching, that it's like the old saying goes, you attract a lot more flies with honey. The kids respond better to you when I first started coaching. Sometimes I'd get upset because maybe they were slacking it or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I started kind of doing that same thing that my principal would do to me, where like she would compliment everything and then add that one extra thing. And I started realizing I changed my coaching style completely with these kids, and getting them to buy into the program, getting them to feel good about themselves, and then make those changes to improve.
And then make the changes. Absolutely. I had to learn that as a coach myself, because that was really hard. And I was like, I wasn't getting anywhere. Carlos, because I'm going to leave Celina to the last. Okay, so. Carlos, what do you have?
Yeah, a recent success I would say is when my kids got 100% proficiency in the EOC test that they took last year for Math 1. It was a really great experience for me and for the kids because at the beginning they were very, I don't know, they were afraid that they won't be able to hit that mark, but with their hard work and with, with them cooperating and buying in with the vision that we had for the class, they were able to reach that goal. So it was one beautiful success story for me. Something I now know I could do better is whenever I would have those back and forth conversations with kids when they would try to argue a point that they have in class. And sometimes you would sense a bit of an attitude from them. So you would also try to give back that energy. But now I feel like, okay, so you don't have to take things personally, like what he said. Kids are kids, and sometimes they just have to find, an avenue to express themselves. And they do not probably know how to express it healthily yet. So don't take everything personally coming from them.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And then last but not least, Celina, I know you have something by now.
I think the department that we work for, we have little successes every single day. And so when we get our students to graduate with their diplomas is a huge success. And it's truly a team effort. And, we have different units on our campus and we have students, in with autism. And so when they, you see them in their cap and gowns, and yeah, some of them do have to be escorted, but they're walking the stage and you're like, yes, it's the little things like that, bring a smile to our faces.
So powerful, right?
Yes.
So powerful to see them walk across the stage.
And especially their parents, because their parents work so hard with them. And, we don't know what happens in the home, and we don't know what kind of supports happen for these students after they finish with us. And so, it's a huge task for everybody involved. But when you finally see them, leaving you, it's a beautiful sight. It really is. Yeah.
And a situation you could have handled differently?
I have tons of situations, but I think for me as an educator and being, I like to be a team player on campus. And so for me, I think learning how to say no. When they ask you, be a part of this committee, be a part of this task force. And I'm like, okay, no. Okay. And then later, my husband's like, really? You got into another committee? And so I think for me, I just, I want to help everybody. I want to, help my colleagues out. But at the same time, I need my sanity, on the weekends at the end of the workday. And so I think that's difficult for me is saying no to things. So.
Awesome.
Thank you for sharing.
Hey, Josh,
that.
Can I do a shout out to my former student out there, Morris Morales?
Of
hey,
course.
I'm still here and I'm still L'Oreal.
Real quick, guys, we're coming to the close of the show right now. Let's not get too deep because it's one of the things that we all have our little niche, like someone mentioned earlier. What keeps you up at night? What troubles you about our field? Tim.
Probably that was alluded to earlier about how we're not getting people applying for jobs like we used to, and there's so many courses being left open without a teacher. It's concerning, and new teachers are saying it's easier to just stay on the substitute list and don't want to take full-time work. And there's this idea that there's an easier path to success, and yet teaching is the greatest profession, and the greatest success you're going to have as a teacher is when you're in the building and developing relationships. And it just can't happen when you're coming and going on a daily basis to different locations and different facilities. And so and then on top of that, when teachers do get into the profession, what keeps me up mostly is the idea that, like I said earlier, are teachers evolving in their practice as fast as society is evolving? And I don't think so. And I would love to see that change.
Thank you, brother. Carlos, what keeps you up at night?
I'd say the same thing. Teacher turnover. I don't think we're able to recruit more and more people in the profession right now. It's not just here in the U.S. It's not just in North America, but even in the Philippines, and I think globally. I think there's a challenge for us to make teaching more appealing. especially the young people, because we have to have people who will be educating, the kids that we have right now, and we're part of the future that we will be making. So we have to be able to continue that process for everybody.
Celina, what keeps you up at night?
Uh, I think when we have fellow educators that don't treat the profession like the way you hope they do, like the way you do. You think about those kids that you're like, oh man, did he eat last night? Did his parents give him a hard time? And there's educators that wouldn't blink an eye, if that student is in their class, and they don't take the time to build those relationships with the kids. And I think that's very disheartening for me, is, the adults that aren't here for the right reasons.
Silvia, what keeps you up at night?
Well, I agree with that. That was part of my answer. Believe it or not, I do worry about what certain kids are going through and if they're going to be okay, especially when we go off on breaks. I can't help but think about them the entire time we're away from school, because they open up to you, and that it's not great at home, and so you worry about their safety, you worry about their choices, you worry about their home life. And also, I mean, as an educator, I do worry about, believe it or not, how it's changing, because I know it's been more demanding. There's less people going into it, but it's weird. There's less people looking into education, but the profession is getting even more demanding for those of us who are still here. And sometimes I feel spread thin. Especially like you mentioned, Mr. Tovar, with special ed, it's a lot of paperwork. And believe it or not, I've woken up in the middle of the night thinking, did I do this? Did I archive this? I panic. And so I think that's the things that keep me up at night is all the things that sometimes we have to do with such little time, because like Omar says, and you all agree, like, even though we can use our own personal time, man, there's times when I don't want to. There's times when I want to enjoy my grandkids. There's times when I just want to enjoy my own alone time. I live alone, and I'm okay with just watching sports all day from, 8 a.m. till 10 at night. That's me, and I need that. I need that relaxation. And so what keeps me up at night is just the demand sometimes, and how I'm going to do it, and, and how I'm going to carry on with everything.
Omar, what keeps you up at night?
I think it's the demands and the constant change. I understand that they're trying to tackle issues like teacher shortages, and so like every year there's just something new. This year it was okay. Instead of going from 8 periods, now you're going to go to 10, and your planning periods are going to get shorter, and or we think you'd be really great for this, so we're signing you up. And like there's just so many things, like if we don't already devote all of our time or enough of our time to the career. And so like even just with the changes with like in administration, well, there's just they'll we're getting great and we're doing great. Well, this other school can probably use a strong leader like the guy you guys have, so we're going to move this administrator over there. I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I think it's the lack of consistency, the addition to the workload that is already, they always want to keep adding to the workload. And yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for opening up that chainmail armor and exposing your thoughts and feelings, because it's crucial that people understand both the beautiful stuff and the challenging stuff that we face. Dr. Moreno.
This is going to be quick because we're going to get ready for the Échale Ganas section, right? So real quickly, you guys, I want to know just one strategy, okay, as far as regarding discipline. So discipline has been a big topic, right? Especially with cell phones and, fighting and TikTok and all these challenges and whatnot. But can you tell me what strategy do you use to avoid problems in your classroom? And we're going to start off with Carlos.
I think discipline begins at the beginning of the year. The first few days, it's when you build relationship with your kids. Cliche as it may sound, it's crucial that you know what piques their interest, how they communicate things, what they like, what they don't like, and build upon those things. You can build your class agreements around the things that they enjoy, the things that you think they should know, and the things that you should be working together. So it all begins the first few days of the school. You have to build that relationship with the kids, and everything
That's
else will go
huge.
smoothly.
Yeah, that is so big. Relationships at the beginning of the year kind of set those up. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, Carlos. So we have relationships, right? That's one strategy. Celina, do you have another strategy?
I actually wanted to do something from the very beginning, and this was even just a support for my kids. Is I purchased those calculator holders, and I said that's where your phones are going. You know, all we need are each other. You don't need the phones. You don't need the distractions. So the moment they walk into class, they put their phones away and we get ready. Yeah. And it works. You know, the expectations are there. They're numbered for where they're sitting. And so I'm like, hey, you didn't put it up. Let's go put it up so that we can, tackle the assignment or whatever it is that we're supposed to do today.
And they see it. They see their phone,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
they're doing their work and they're watching I'm sure they're watching their phone because they think it's going to walk away, right?
Right.
So relationships, we have a strategy to take care of your phones. What about Tim? What do you have?
Well, I think Carlos nailed it. The first day, first week, just developing relationships. It's amazing how much as relationships go up, discipline issues go down. And treating them with respect. I'm the adult, like I said earlier, I'm the adult in the room. So I'm the first one to offer respect. I'll respect all of them, and they'll see that right off the bat. And interestingly enough, when I start doing that, they start doing it right back. So that's my strategy is right off the bat, treat them with respect, and that's what you get back.
Awesome. Relationship, phone strategy, respect. Omar, what is your strategy?
I guess that active monitoring, as long as you're, engaged and active in the class, walking around, making sure that kids don't give them that room to goof around. I guess as you're active in the classroom and walking up and down, as the kids are working and things like that, that gives them less opportunity to start messing around and stuff.
And praising them, right? As you're walking around saying, good job, because that's what they need, right? They need to hear that. Sylvia, let's round it out. What do you got?
Well, Dr. Moreno, you took the words right out of my mouth. What I do, the first day of school when we're going over rules and procedures, I do tell the kids that I am that teacher that will pat you while you're sitting down or while you're walking in. I am that teacher that shows you with a high five. So I always tell kids, if you have a problem, you don't want anyone, disrespecting your personal space, let me know now, because I am that teacher that will go down the line, or when you're leaving, I'll be like, have a great weekend, and I'll like pat them on the shoulder, and but that's been my way, but it's natural. We did a program, our district brought, this program about greeting the kids outside and giving them affirmations. Well, I was doing that before that program was brought on board. I think if you feel it naturally, like if you're that person and you're that educator, you don't need someone to tell you that that's what you're going to do. You're going to greet your kids at the door. You're going to get to know, like, you all were saying, I talk sports with the boys and some girls, like on the weekends, like, did your team win? Building relationships. I think that's instinct for us. I think we do it without someone asking for us. And I think I'm that educator, and that's one strategy that has helped me blend it in with all the ones that you have mentioned is praising the kids. They love it. And when they're off track, just redirect them. And I don't redirect them like right away, like, hey, you're not doing, like, I even say, hey, are we supposed to have our phone out? Different tone, because tone matters. And so, no, miss, sorry, miss. And then they put it away, like, instead of having, and yes, even though sometimes you use your nice tone, you still have, students that may not be having a good day. Yeah. But then you, like Tim says, we're at that point where, okay, even if the reaction wasn't positive, if we act positive, no matter what the reaction was, then they will ease up and they will do what they want. Yes.
Yeah, they'll come around.
Yes.
Josh,
Awesome.
it's all you, man. Échale ganas.
There you go. We're about to get into that real quick. And to piggyback on all the answers from Canada all the way down to West Texas, that whole connection with kids should start with the people that sit in my chair. It needs to start from administration and role modeling that expectation to everybody. And if someone that sits in my chair doesn't like what I just say, tough. Because that's how you're going to avoid kids going to your office with recidivist behavior problems. Because it shouldn't be a Silvia classroom thing. It shouldn't be a Carlos classroom thing. It shouldn't be a Tim classroom thing or anybody's. It should be a campus thing, to where when they go to hallway A, all the way across these big schools in Texas to hallway X, or a little school from hallway A to hallway C, they should be able to feel the love and the nurturing in each hallway to avoid, like someone said, if it starts at the beginning, it will not perpetuate the recidivist behavior or the negativity in the culture.
Exactly.
So let me ask you real quick, either you know or you don't know. So if you don't know, just say, I don't know. All right? Before we get into the Chile Ganas questions. Omar, where are you in 5 years?
Don't know.
Celina, where are you in 5 years?
2 years closer to retirement.
5 years.
What?
Yeah, 5 years, and then I'm adding 2 more, and at 7, I'm done.
Yeah. I understand. Sylvia?
Yeah.
I think I'll probably still be in the classroom. I love being around the kids. So, I mean, anything can change, but probably still in the classroom.
Carlos?
Yeah, still in the classroom, year 20.
Aw.
Tim?
Wow.
I'll be retired, enjoying life.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Hey, a big shout out to Melissa Jones Chunu, Fantastic Four family member from Tulsa, Oklahoma, joining us here for the last round of the Échale Ganas questions. Remember, everybody out there, if this is the first time you heard us and we have a good turnout, this panel's turning out a great number. You guys are doing better number than the principal roundtable. Not comparing, but I'm just comparing. And so great job to our team members in the trenches. Échale ganas. Ganas is a word. Hey, Illinois, you might not know. Idaho, I know you don't know. Ganas is a spiritual word used by Hispanics that goes down eons. I'm pretty sure some Aztec told their kid ganas. I don't know. It just goes down from person to person. And it's just not a word just to say the word. It's a connection through all our bloodlines from Central America, because right now I'm dealing with Hondureños, Guatemaltecos, Nicaraguenses. I got everybody at our campus, and we all use the same concept. Ganas. That means thrive for excellence, thrive for success. There is no equate in English for this word. Nothing, because it's tied into a grandmother telling her daughter, telling her child. So this is where I throw out these questions to you, panel, porque quiero que le echen ganas, and I want you to inspire somebody out there. I want you to inspire that senior in high school to become an educator. I want you to inspire that educator in college to push them ahead. Y que le echen ganas. Tim, give advice to either a new teacher or an administrator.
Okay. Well, one of the things you had said earlier was lyrics to a song, and I gotta give you, because I think this answers your question. Do you remember the song "Land of Confusion" by Genesis? These are the hands that we're given, and this is the world that we live in. Use them, and let's start trying to make it a place worth living in.
Perfect. Read a note, an email, a text from a teacher or a student that wrote you that inspired you.
Still me?
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's lightning round.
Oh, lightning round, brother. It's quick. Vámonos.
I got one right here. I got one from a mother of a student who said it's not just the love of science you've given him, but also confidence, the opportunity to learn from the best and to be the best of his ability. You've also taught him what makes a fantastic teacher and mentor. Thank you for being such a remarkable teacher and a person. I count my lucky stars he met you. That was really nice.
Eso. Send some
Really
flowers to a current educator who inspires you. Why do?
Definitely Miss Jenny Kim, my colleague next door in my class, in my hallway, science chemistry teacher. She's fantastic. She's so abundant. She's a bundle of energy. She runs the school. I love her.
Who should people follow on social media?
Oh, you mentioned earlier Tim Cavey. You got to follow Tim Cavey. And how about Brian Carpenter? who does this Fresh Air at 5 and reviews podcasts. Maybe he'll review this one too.
Got
Brian
it.
Carpenter, Fresh Air at 5.
What is one song that embodies you as a person?
One song?
One song.
Well, I gave you my song already.
All right, that's a what? Okay, I just wanted. What's your favorite quote?
Right now, the quote that's on my classroom door is "There's 1,000 ways to be smart."
What is your favorite cheat food?
Oh, I think party mix.
Party mix. You
Mix.
rebel, you.
Yeah.
How can people reach you, Tim Stephenson?
Well, I'm on Astro Stevenson on all the socials, and then astrostevenson11@gmail.com. Send me an email, ask me some questions. If you want to come on my podcast, you know some science topics, I'd love to interview you.
Love it. Thank you. Omar Cortez, give advice to either a new teacher or an administrator.
Be open, be flexible, and expect the unexpected.
Read a note, an email, or text from a teacher or student that wrote you, that inspired you.
I have a yearbook where I have the kids sign it every year, and Esteban, my 8th grader, that changed my life, and he let me know that it's not over. We're the only words that instead of writing like a whole thing in there, just letting me know that we're going to stay in touch and we'll still keep talking. So I like that a lot.
Send some flowers to a current educator who inspires you, and why do they inspire you?
My wife, Mrs. Cortez, because she wears many hats. She does everything, and she taught me my work ethic as a teacher. She taught me to be the teacher that I am. She introduced me to robotics, and so definitely.
Who should people follow on social media?
My EdTech World. Fonzie does a great podcast for EdTech, and probably Daily STEM with Chris Woods.
Yes, follow Fonz, mi carnal from the RGV Valley. Awesome. What's one song that embodies you as a person, Omar?
All the Small Things by Blink-182, because why not?
All right. What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
What is your favorite cheat food or sweet?
Takis with a Modelo Oro.
Ay, Dios mío. How Hispanic of you, bro. All right. How can people reach out?
Social media, Mr. Cortez Robotics, on Instagram and on Twitter.
Thank you for sharing. Silvia, give advice to either a new teacher or administrator.
I guess my advice would be for new teacher, just it's a learning process. So enjoy every minute of it, even when it gets hard. You'll learn a lot. And for admin, just remember who you were when you were in our shoes, and have that true relationship with your teachers that has nothing to do with T-test or classroom. Just get to know them as a person so that you can be there for their support.
Read a note, an email, a text from a teacher or a student that wrote you.
Okay, it was pretty hard to choose one, but I have one that was given to me about 2 years ago, and it really touched my heart. So I'm gonna apologize beforehand because I'm a big crybaby, but I'm gonna try not to cry while I read this, okay? But I don't know. So it said, "Dear Miss Hernandez, I will miss you with all of my heart and soul, and I will never ever forget you. To me, you were and are everyone's mama bear, and have this genuine bright light full of joy, love, kindness, empathy, and generosity that you carefully give to those around you. You make school feel like home. You greet everyone with politeness and grace, and have a generous heart of gold that should be handled as a treasure. Thank you for everything you do for your kiddos." And I guess she used kiddos because that's what I call all of them. Sorry, my eyes are tearing up, so I can't read but her writing. But for the trouble, she's like, "Thank you for everything you do for your kiddos, for the troublemakers, the outcasts, the shy, closed-up kids like myself, this community, those you work with, and for leaving a legacy at the school and affecting each generation with your love, support, and kindness. Teacher Appreciation Week may be a week, maybe 1 week, but um, but you must deserve to be appreciated every single day. Sincerely, DS.
Por eso te quiero, Silvia. Exactly. Send some flowers to a current educator who inspires you.
I would have to say that right now, I would send flowers to Miss Torres. She's a principal. I've known her since we were kids, and she has prevailed through lots of things and just grown so much professionally that she's my inspiration at this moment.
Who should people follow on social media?
Dr. Jose Medina is one of my favorites.
We just had him on the show 2 weeks ago.
Yes, I saw that.
What is one song, una canción that embodies you as a person?
It's called I Trust in God by Evolution Worship. The lyrics is just who I am.
What is your quote?
I have a quote from Don Miguel Ruiz. Be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love.
4 agreements. Love it. What's your cheat food?
Homemade chocolate cake with chocolate frosting and a big glass of milk.
Hombre. How can people reach out to you?
I'm on Instagram. It's SIL76, and I have Twitter. I think my handle is HDZ SIL_SHS.
Thank you. Carlos, are you ready?
I am.
Give advice to either a new teacher or an administrator.
For the new teachers, it's okay to not know everything. Give yourself some grace. The first year is a learning experience, and you will be learning a lot as long as you're willing and open.
Read a note, an email, text from a teacher, a student that wrote you that inspired you.
So this is an email I got from one of my Math 1 kids last year. He was one of the most quiet kids in the class, seated at the far end of the classroom. So I didn't know I was connecting to him, but he said, good afternoon. I just wanted to thank you for having me in your class this year. It was truly an amazing experience to get to be one of your students in your class. You have taught me so much, and I truly thank you for it. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye before I left, so I just wanted to send you an email. I will truly miss you, and I hope you enjoy teaching any future classes to come.
Eso! Love it. Send some flowers to a current educator who inspires you.
Probably Mrs. Katrina Tuff, my grade level partner. She was our instructional coach last year, but when she found out that there was a need to fill in our school for a math teacher, she gave up that position and joined us. So 20 years in the profession, and she still have that same energy and, that infectious and magnetic drive to teach. She's just inspiring.
Who should people follow on social media?
For math educational videos and witty math puns at Howie_Hua.
What's one song that embodies you as a person?
I'd say Don't Stop Believing by Journey.
What's your favorite quote?
Be the change you wish to see in the world.
What's your favorite cheat food or sweet?
I love some spicy hot wings and quarter pounders.
There you go. Hey, and you know what, I Carlos, I have a lot of my team members that work with that are from the Philippines, and then they started offering me some of the desserts. And so if you all don't know, their desserts have a special name in Hispanic culture that we shouldn't be saying publicly.
I know.
So yeah. Hey, Celina, exactly.
But that's a good one.
Those words are sweet breads to them. We'll just leave it at that.
I think I know what you're saying. I think I know.
All right. And in closing, how can people reach you?
Oh, it's just at Carlos Erepol on X.
Got it. Hey, Omar, I did get you right now, right? I already got you, right?
Mhm.
Selena, ahí
Yes,
te va,
sir.
comadre. Give advice to either a new teacher or administrator.
I would say to a new teacher, gravitate towards the positive energy that a teacher brings. You know, don't be a negative Nancy. You know, embrace the suck and be optimistic.
Love it. Read a note, an email, text from a teacher or a student that
I
inspires.
got this note from a student that left it on my desk, and I have no idea who it was. And this is
Anonymous.
yeah, and he was like, "Thank you, Mrs. Rodriguez, for always having a positive attitude before class." I was like,
Aw.
oh, my heart.
Send some flowers to a current educator who inspires you.
Actually, she's not an educator anymore. She's my diagnostician, Mel Kopchek. Wonderful human being, great advocate for our students, and she's a bad woman. I love her.
Who should people follow on social media?
What about Joshua Tovar? Right?
Oh, all right. There you go.
Yes, sir.
What's one song
Hey, I'm
that-
not. What do they call like a kiss ass? Whatever you said. No, that's not me.
That's what he
You're
said
not
at the
my boss
beginning of
anymore,
the show.
And you know what, Selena? The thing is that once you become a certain age, you realize who is doing it and who's not doing that. And
Right.
you've always been legit, dude. You've always been
Thank you.
legit. That's why I love you. You know that.
Thank you.
What's one song that embodies you as a person?
You know, I always see the beauty in things. What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong.
What's your favorite quote?
Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
What's your favorite cheap food?
Pizza and beer. And lots of beer.
Eso.
Yeah.
How can people reach you?
You know, I'm not a big social media, but Celina RCA, I think that's my name on Twitter and Instagram.
Hey, everybody start following her so she gets annoyed and she sees the power of social media. Hey, I'd like to give everyone a big thank you very much. High five to everybody for being here tonight. Hey, it didn't feel like 2 hours, guys. It went just like that because that's crucial
fun.
that we hear from people that are literally in the trenches, going through all these state changes, going through all these coaching abilities, and inspiring people from different parts of the country and the world right now. So I'd like to welcome everybody that was brand new. New number today, Dr. Moreno. Great job for everybody out there. And so please make sure that everyone likes it and shares it on the rebroadcast. Please let us know that you did that. And don't forget, it's not over because next week we have the coaching, not as in sports, but coaching someone else for success. And after that, we're going to have our principal roundtable number 3. After that, we're going to have our teacher roundtable number 2. And then our We Are Family show, episode 23, where we get cafeteria workers, bus drivers, instructional aides, everybody to be part of this conversation. Because it's not a one thing. It's not just a teacher. It's not the custodian. It's all of us. And we need to hear from every single last person about this beautiful field, the beautiful profession, the profession that creates all the other professions, public education. Thank you for being here on the PGP podcast. We'll see you next week. Thank you. Say goodbye, everybody.
Stay tuned. Stay online, everybody.
Thank you.
Don't hang up.